There's just something irresistibly captivating about Mafia media. Whether it's the movies, the games, or the shows, I'm drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Maybe it's the high stakes tension, the larger than life characters, or the blend of loyalty and betrayal. It's like watching a Shakespearean drama with guns and suits. But for me, there's something more personal, something that goes beyond just a cinematic or gaming experience. You see, I grew up in a full-blooded Italian household, and let me tell you, some of those Mafia characters, they don't just feel familiar, they feel like family. And yes, I'm talking about the real North American Italian experience here. Veal sandwiches that hit the spot, homemade pizza and pasta from scratch, and chicken cutlets thinly sliced just the way I like them.
And I had some beautiful cutlets that were cut just right that I was gonna fry up before dinner just as an appetizer.
Sundays were sacred around the dinner table, both of my nonnas crafting meals that could rival anything you'd see on screen. When I watch these Mafia stories, what really resonates isn't the crime, it's the deep-rooted family traditions, the loyalty, and even the unspoken tensions. Strip away the criminal empire, and you'll find a lot of what happens in these stories mirrors life in a traditional Italian household, just with a bit more edge, and minus, the organized crime. But if we're going to be talking about Mafia stories, there's one that stands head and shoulders above the rest for me. Mafia 1 Definitive Edition. This game isn't just a love letter to the genre, it's a damn masterpiece. I can confidently say it holds one of the greatest narratives I've experienced in a video game, and I don't say that lightly. You might think I'm crazy, but every character in Mafia 1 feels like they've been pulled from a great novel. They're not just filler or background noise. Each one is crafted with purpose, depth, and a kind of raw humanity you rarely see in games. It's like every choice, every line of dialogue is another stroke in a painting that's more intricate the longer you look at it. The story has layers, like peeling back an onion, each one revealing something deeper and more emotional. And that's where we're headed today. We're about to dive deep into the psychology of these characters, their motivations, their struggles, their moral dilemmas. Think of it like this. If the Mafia world is a chessboard, each character is a piece. Some are pawns, others are kings, but all of them have a role to play in a much larger, more complex game. We'll see it all break down, and by the end of this, I think you'll see Mafia 1 in a whole new light. So let's take a closer look at Mafia 1, the Definitive Edition.
But once we're running this Kentucky Brown, we'll be back in brass buttons. Good work, son. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of all of you. Saludo! Saludo!
Mafia 1 Definitive Edition, a game that, for me, felt less like playing a video game and more like experiencing a cinematic saga. It draws you in immediately with its intriguing premise. Tommy Angelo, our protagonist, finds himself sitting across from a detective, recounting his time in the mob. It's a striking introduction, one that immediately makes you ask the big question, why? Why is this guy, a mafioso, ratting out his former colleagues? After all, isn't the cardinal rule of the mafia life never to rat and never talk to the cops? The setup is masterful because it raises the stakes right from the start. It plants a seed in your mind. What events could have led this man, who's lived by a strict code, to sit in that chair and spill it all out to the cop? From there, the game wastes no time in immersing you in its world. The opening missions are more than just an introduction to the mechanics. They're a hook. When I tried this game out for the very first time, I told myself I'd only play through the first mission and call it a night. Just a quick taste to get a feel for things. 2 hours later, there I was, fully engrossed in the world of Lost Heaven, speeding through its streets, caught up in the game's intoxicating blend of story and action. There's something about the pacing, especially in those very first few missions, that just reels you in really quickly. It's like when you tell yourself you'll only watch one episode of a show before bed, and then suddenly it's 3 a.m. and you're still glued to the screen. A lot of the draw of this game comes from its characters. Mafia 1 isn't just a game about gangsters shooting guns and driving fast cars, though don't get me wrong, there's plenty of that. It's a story about people and the relationships between them. Don Salieri, the patriarch of the family Tommy finds himself working for, has this strong, familiar energy to him. If you've ever watched Goodfellas, you'll probably get some major Paulie vibes from him. He's this quiet, intimidating figure, commanding respect without needing to say too much. But at the same time, there's something almost fatherly about him, which makes his eventual betrayal sting all the more.
When you catch up to Frank, you get those books. And if he doesn't have them on him, you make him tell you where to find them. After that, you do what we gotta do.
Then there's Paulie, who's quickly become one of my favorite characters in the game. He is the quintessential Mafia hothead, the guy who's always a little too quick to pull the trigger and ask questions later. But what's great about Mafia 1 is how it uses these familiar archetypes in ways that feel fresh. Paulie might be the loudmouth of the group, but as the game goes on, you start to see layers to him. His jealousy, his insecurities, his desire for something more than just being a grunt in the mob. It all comes to a head eventually, right after that thrilling race scene where Paulie gets drunk and starts letting his guard down. You can already sense that he's becoming unhinged, and it's just a matter of time before things spiral out of control.
You put me to shame, Tom. Look at you. Now you're even some kind of race car driver.
We all got our...
You're doing real good since you joined the family, but you know you got it easy, right? Me and Sam, we keep the real stuff from you.
That right, huh?
You don't know what it's like. You get the call to see the Don and your mind's race. Done some bad shit, Tom.
And spiral they do. By only just a bit later in the game, Paulie crosses a line when he shoots a kid right in front of Tommy. This scene is powerful. Paulie doesn't hesitate. He doesn't even blink. It's chilling, and it's at this moment that you realize just how dangerous Paulie really is. Up until then, he's been the comic relief in a way, but that moment changes everything. It's one of those scenes where you feel the weight of the choices the characters are making, and it sticks with you long after the mission is over.
Go on and pop me, Tom.
No, wait. Please. Please, I don't want to fucking die, man.
Christ, Tom. You can't feel sorry for these animals. A guy like this would plug you if you give him the chance. You gotta pull the trigger without thinking. Guess I'm out. This one's finished too. Oh, Christ, Tom. Snap out of it. You remember what those guys wanted to do to Sarah?
Yeah. Just,
Hey. Let's get out of here before the bulls show up, huh?
But what truly sets Mafia 1 apart is the audacity of its narrative. The game doesn't pull any punches. It makes bold, uncompromising choices that leave a lasting impact. Take this, for instance. The mission involving the city councilor's son. When you fail to take him out successfully the first time, the game doesn't offer you a clean, convenient second chance. No. Instead, you're instructed to finish the job during one of the most sensitive and chilling moments imaginable, right in the middle of his friend's funeral. And not just any funeral, this is a eulogy happening in a sacred church for the very friend that Paulie killed earlier in the story. The weight of that moment alone is immense. It's not just about pulling off the hit, it's about the sheer audacity of it. To commit such a brutal act in a place of worship during a moment of mourning. It's something you'd expect from a gripping mob film, not a video game. This scene is haunting, charged with tension, and emblematic of the moral complexity that Mafia 1 thrives on. It's a sequence that stays with you long after you left the pews of that church, a testament to the game's fearless storytelling. And I gotta say, man, this game's got some balls.
What have you done? Murder in the house of God.
these men were criminals, Father. Thieves. Rapists. Killers.
And God would have embraced them if they'd asked for forgiveness. Now, which one of these men might have sought redemption by working with the poor? Which one might have saved just one life?
None of us, Father. You bastard. If you have any confessions to make, you better do it quick.
No more bloodshed, please!
I'm sorry, Father. Consider this an act of divine retribution.
That make us even?
Sure. For now.
for your trouble, Father.
I don't want your blood money.
You took theirs. Not a lot of difference from where I'm standing.
As the game unfolds, you witness the deepening bond between Tommy, Sam, and Paulie, a brotherhood forged through fire. These three men, initially brought together by circumstance, gradually become a tightly knit trio, their camaraderie born from the shared danger and loyalty to the family. Through every narrow escape, every risky heist, and every quiet conversation, their connection grows even stronger. The chemistry between them is palpable, and it's more than just a partnership. It's a friendship, even if it's one built in the shadow of violence. This dynamic relationship is one of the game's most compelling aspects, adding emotional weight to every twist in the narrative. The banter, the looks they share, the trust they put in each other, it all feels genuine. They've been through hell and back, and as the story progresses, that bond only deepens, making the betrayals and inevitable downfalls all the more heart-wrenching. By about midway through the game, Mafia 1 does something incredible. It makes you feel for Tommy in a way that many games struggle to achieve. He's not just a blank slate protagonist who goes from point A to point B. He's a character with his own set of morals, his own code. When he spares the life of the girl that Sam asks you to not to kill, you realize he's different. He's got a conscience. He's not like Paulie, who's quick to kill anyone who crosses him. Tommy's decision to go against the Don himself, to save Frank, to fake his funeral is another moment that cements him as a character with depth. He's caught in this world of violence, but he's still trying to hold on to some semblance of humanity. And then there's the growing tension between Salieri and the rival mob boss, Melo. By midway through the game, their rivalry is palpable, culminating in a brilliant stare-down that feels straight out of a Sergio Leone western, only with Tommy guns instead of 6 shooters.
You're making my boys twitchy, Marcoux.
Sergio and I just came by to pay respects, that's all. Known Frank a long time. Almost as long as you. He's a good man. Smart. Loyal. Loyal to his wife. His kid above all else. There must be some kind of honor in that in you.
Maybe. But I'm still looking at this headstone with his little girl's name on it.
It's a hell of a thing.
This is where Mafia 1 really shines. These quiet moments of tension where you know something big is coming, you can feel it simmering beneath the surface, and when it finally explodes, it's all the more satisfying. While we're here, let's talk about Melo for a moment. His introduction is brilliant. He's the looming presence, a psychopathic foil to Salieri's culminated calm. When we finally get a glimpse into Morelo's madness after he failed the hit at Pepe's restaurant, it's like the curtain finally gets pulled back on his character. You can finally see the rage, the paranoia, and the desperation that defines him. Melo isn't just a villain for the sake of having one. He's the embodiment of what unchecked power and ambition can do to a man.
What about that, other thing?
That's why I'm here. Salieri's still alive.
God damn it! What happened?
I don't know yet. Crew we sent is dead. Restaurant's all shot to hell.
Stop your crying. Trying to have a conversation here. What about, the cockroach Carlo?
Found him with his head smashed in like a fucking watermelon. Never seen anything like it.
Salieri must have figured Carlo was the rat. God damn it. Even hear myself think.
It's gonna be a war.
I told you to shut the fuck up! We've been at war since you killed Papone. It's just out in the open now.
Graphically, Mafia 1 Definitive Edition can be breathtaking at times. There are moments, like the fireworks scene after you assassinate Galati, where the game feels almost like an interactive movie. The attention to detail is incredible, and it made me genuinely curious about how these scenes played out in the original game. The juxtaposition of the beauty of the fireworks and the brutal nature of Tommy's mission is something that gives this game a cinematic quality that few games achieve. But the thing is, it's not all action and fireworks. One of the things I appreciate most most about this game is its willingness to slow down and to let the story breathe. Take the mission where you walk Sarah home for the first time. There's no big shootout, no high-octane car chase. It's just a quiet, character-driven moment that gives you a chance to connect with Tommy and Sarah on a deeper level. Or deeper in the game, when Paulie gives you that heartfelt speech about wanting to do something more with his life. You feel the weight of the choices these characters have made, and it's these moments that make the story impactful.
You got a family to look after. I get that. But think about what this could mean for them.
Watch it, buddy. You're treading into enemy territory without a map.
Yeah. I don't know what it's like for you going home to your wife and kid, but that's why I'm doing this. Who's gonna marry me? Nearly 40 years old and nothing to show for it but my rap sheet. But we do this, I get enough scratch to finally get out? Who knows?
You're not built for the domestic life, Paulie. 6 months in, you'll put a bullet in your brain out of boredom.
Christ. I'm ready to punch my ticket right now. We sit around for 6 months, just playing cards and busting balls, and I start to get lazy. Then everything blows up, and I gotta knock the rust off or I'm dead. One day I'm fighting to stay awake while the Don's telling us a story about the old days. One I've already heard 100 times, and the next day I'm getting shot at, trying to keep from shitting my pants. It's fucking wearing me out, Tommy.
Paulie's speech in particular is a turning point for his character. Up until that point, he's been all bravado and violence, but in that moment, you see the real Paulie, a guy who just wants something more. He's tired of the grind, tired of risking his life for a Don who doesn't seem to care about him. It's a moment of vulnerability that makes his eventual death all the more heartbreaking. And speaking of heartbreaking, Paulie's death. Man, that scene hit me like a ton of bricks. You walk into his apartment and see him lying there, dead on the floor, 2 bullets in his skull. It's raw, it's brutal, and it's a stark reminder that in the world of Mafia 1, there's no such thing as loyalty. Paulie didn't get a grand, cinematic send-off. He got betrayed by the very people he considered his family. It's one of those moments where the game strips away any glamour or romance you might associate with the Mafia life and shows you the cold, hard reality. There's no honor among thieves, no happy endings, just death. Paulie's death is one of the most gut-wrenching moments in the game. 2 shots to the head and it's over. It's raw, it's unceremonious, and it's the perfect encapsulation of the life these characters live. There's no loyalty, no honor, just cold, hard reality, and it shook me to my core when I saw it. And then, the game hits you with another twist, Sam. I spent so much of the game thinking Paulie would be the one to betray us, but when you find out it was Sam who pulled the trigger, it's a gut punch. The ensuing shootout is intense, but it's the emotional weight of that betrayal that stays with you. Sam, the cool, collected, tough guy, was the one who killed Paulie. It's a testament to the game's writing that this moment feels both shocking and inevitable at the same time. The betrayal by Sam, his decision to not only turn on Paulie, but on you as well, is one of those moments in Mafia 1 that feels both devastating and, upon reflection, tragically inevitable. As much as you despise him in that moment, the harsh truth is that his actions make a painful kind of sense. Sam, ever the enforcer of rules, reminds you that there are codes in this life, and once those lines are crossed, consequences follow. He doesn't betray out of personal malice, but rather out of a commitment to the structure of this underworld, where loyalty to the Don outweighs personal bonds. And it's true, we did break the rules. Sparing Frank's life when Salieri ordered his death was the first crack in the veneer of loyalty, the moment when you allowed personal empathy to override the cold, calculated demands of the mob. As much as you might hate Sam in this instant, a part of you knows he's right. This life operates on its own set of principles, strict, unforgiving, and absolute. To deviate from them is to invite disaster, and that disaster comes in the form of losing your 2 closest friends and realizing that the world you've dedicated yourself to has no space for personal morality or sentiment. It's in that realization where the emotional weight of the game hits hardest. The rules of this life are not designed for winning, at least not in any meaningful sense. The only victory is survival, and even that comes at a cost of your humanity. In sparing Frank, in attempting trying to escape with Paulie, you were trying to carve out a life on your terms. But the game reminds you with brutal clarity that there are no personal terms in the mob. There are only rules, and when they are broken, there's always a steep price to pay, whether it's with your life, your friendships, or your soul.
Baby girl, Sarah, always telling you not to pull that trigger. And you can't make up your mind.
It's getting easier every time you open your fucking mouth.
We sure had some laughs, right? Remember that time? Me, you, and Paulie.
Finally, we reach the end, the moment where Tommy meets his fate. After everything he's been through, after betraying the Salieri family to protect his own, he still can't escape this life. Tommy might have walked his daughter down the aisle, but in the end, the mob catches up to him. The final cutscene is a masterstroke of storytelling. You see Tommy, older and wiser, accepting his fate. The hit, carried out by none other than Vito and Joe from Mafia 2, is a brilliant nod to the franchise's interconnected world, and it adds a layer of depth to the ending. It's an emotional, heartbreaking conclusion to Tommy's story, a reminder that in the world of organized crime, there's no escape. You can try to walk away, but the life always finds you in the end.
It gets us out of bed in the morning. It lets us chase our dreams, even when they're moving too fast to catch. It keeps us from falling over when we're too tired to take another step.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Mr. Salieri sends his regards.
Tommy!
That's okay. You're safe now. You're all safe. Remember that money, jobs, even best pals will come and go. But family is forever.
In the end, Mafia 1 Definitive Edition is a game that transcends its genre. Yes, it's a Mafia story, but it's also a story about family, loyalty, and choices that define us. The characters are fully realized, the story is rich with emotion, and the gameplay supports the narrative in ways that few games manage to do. Tommy Angelo's journey is one that sticks with you long after the credits roll, because it's not just about the rise and fall of a gangster, it's about the cost of living that life. Sure, the game has its flaws, the motorcycle controls are awful, and I wish we got to see more of Tommy's personal life, like his marriage or the birth of his daughter, or when he became a made man. But these are just small gripes in the grand scheme of things. The weighty driving mechanics, the brutal cutscenes, the grounded dialogue, it all works together to create a game that feels special. And that's exactly what Mafia 1 is.